Hey guys, what is going on? I'm Sam Crack, and today we're going to do something a little bit unconventional. I want to show you a rebuild project, but not one of mine, something that I ran across here on YouTube. I watch a lot of rebuild projects from all different channels, and I came across a channel by the name of a Glass Elevator. So for the sake of this video, we're going to call the gentleman Mr. Glass Elevator. Now, he bought a 2010 Mustang V6 at Copart to rebuild, and in my opinion, things haven't gone so right since earlier on in this rebuild when he started this video series. So what I want to do right now is kind of go through Mr. Glass Elevator's buying process and his thought process, at least from what I can tell, and then kind of apply what I've learned. And by the way, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes every single day. I just painted a Corvette bumper and had love bugs land in it. But what I do know is with failure, you can sometimes turn them around into a success. And when it comes to a car, it's just a car at the end of the day. It's not your health. It's not your family. So there are ways of turning bad situations around when it comes to rebuild. You might hear me use the term successful rebuild project. Well, what happens if we just turn it into a successful project if the rebuild doesn't go the way it should? Let's jump right into Mr. Glass Elevator's first video, which is titled Buying a Project Car from Copart, How to Pick the Right Car. Now, I got to be completely honest with you. I don't care if you see it on my videos or anybody else's videos. When you see how to pick the right car, definitely listen to what the person has to say, but make sure you use some of your own common sense and some of your own research. Don't just take your opinion from one place, because as you're about to see, I think that Mr. Glass Elevator here is at the point where maybe he's thinking he didn't pick the right car. At least I don't think he picked the right car for what he seems to have set out to do. By the way, in the description of the video, it also says the other alternative to Copart is salvage bid. I realize now that the fees for salvage bid are slightly higher, but since they have more salvage yards, the odds of finding one close to you is higher. There's something incorrect in here. Salvage bid is just a broker. Salvage bid is someone I've used in the past. I don't have anything negative to say about them. Salvage bid is not an auction yard. Salvage bid represents IAAI, the Insurance Auto Auctions, as a salvage yard. So something to take note there at Mr. Glass Elevator. A lot of these brokers will pose as auctions. I don't think salvage bid does that, but you always want to make sure you know the real story when you're dealing with and buying these cars. I've pulled the lot up here on Copart for the 2010 Mustang that Mr. Glass Elevator bought. So the first photo really shows the damage, and that is right here. A side swipe is what it appears to be. We've got this fender that is completely destroyed. We've got a door that's completely destroyed. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit here. This looks crinkled. Definitely something looks wrong right here. So we know that right here we've got some pretty severe damage. If we continue going down, the rest of the car is great, and that's why I think this car is so appealing. But you see how severely damaged this door is? Kind of reminds me of my Audi S3. I had side damage, but most of it was here in the quarter panel. If you looked at the pictures, everything looked superficial. When it came, it was superficial. There was nothing majorly damaged frame-wise on the side, and that car rebuild wise went by pretty smooth, mostly suspension damage. Interior, another big positive here, no popped airbags. That is a great thing. We continue going down, and the engine looks great. 46,000 miles, automatic. Okay, now we go back to these lot details. The other major thing that I was hinting at here is that it's got a certificate of title, meaning a clean title. Nothing majorly wrong, which is really appealing here. If you're planning on buying this vehicle and reselling it down the road, or buying it just to resell as of right now, which from what I can gather, that is Mr. Glass Elevator's intent from what I've listened to in his videos. Now, one other pretty major thing I'd like to note before we get on to the situation here. This is a 2010 Mustang V6. The V6 Mustang is one of the most undesirable used cars I think you could attempt to resell. The V6 Mustang in general has always been a tough sale. Everyone that owns a V6 Mustang doesn't even want to own that V6 Mustang. They went into the dealership hoping to get a V8 Mustang when they found out maybe they didn't have good enough credit, not enough money. Whatever the situation was, the insurance was going to be too high. Somehow a salesperson persuaded them, saying, hey, it's pretty darn close to a V8, and we all know the V6 Mustang is a horrendous car. Now that that rant is over, now this is what he got, and he ends up telling us he spent a little bit over $5,000 to buy this car. And so right there, I think the price is about right. Reselling this car with the accident damage after it's fixed, and the fixing part is actually kind of difficult in this car, as we're about to find out. I would say is worth about 9 or 10 grand, and you're already spending 5. Even though this car has a clean title, because of the nature of the car, it is my estimation that this car, with this sort of damage that we are seeing here, unless you're going to spend a lot of your own time and effort rebuilding it, which I think Mr. Glass Elevator wanted to do, and I don't fault him for that. I want to spend a lot of time on my own rebuild projects, and then I end up shipping some of them off to body shops. Anyway, it's kind of tough to justify that $5,000 price for this car just because of what its resale value is. But there's a ton of great parts in this car, a ton, because as we could see again, the airbags didn't deploy or anything like that. So the car arrives, Mr. Glass Elevator seems pretty darn excited about it. He then assesses the damage and uses the title. The Mustang is more damaged than I thought. It's a title that we've all used here, and I think it was worse than he thought. If you take a look at what he's dealing with in this front corner, first of all, he's got an apron that looks crinkled inwards like this, like taking a piece of paper, right? Here's your straight piece of paper, and now it got pushed in like this and twisted. If it got pushed in like this, not only do you have to take the twist out, you got to pull it straight. And that sort of movement already in a bent apron is it's problematic. The nice thing is he's dealing with a Mustang. So you can go to pretty much any salvage parts wholesaler in the country, and they're going to have any part you want for a Mustang. They're likely going to have a dozen Mustangs lined up, because not only do they go cheap, there's like a Cars and Coffee every single weekend. So these cars are constantly getting wrecked. In my estimation, what you're gonna wanna do for something this severely damaged is replace that whole entire apron situation. But then it extends into where the door mounts to the car, and that's a whole nother animal itself. A really good body guy is gonna be able to get in there, probably have to disassemble somewhere on the side of the engine bay there, or the interior of the car, hook a couple of their hooks, anchors up, and all that sort of stuff, and pull that in the right direction. But you got to have a legitimate frame machine to do that. Now, I say a legitimate frame machine. There's too many guys at home trying to do something like this.
I told you get a run and go. 4,500 RPMs, drop it and drive. All right, hold up. Chain come off.
There are frame tools at places like Harbor Freight or Amazon, but you still got to use them the right way. And so one of the things I really like about Mr. Glass Elevator, not only does he have these tools, he's really pretty crafty in attempting to use them. You can see here he pulls up his tractor with the bucket, and you know, I got a tractor at home. These things are solid as a rock. There's no moving these on solid ground. But the problem is, next to your tractor, this Mustang is like an ant. And so, of course, when he starts to pull it, the Mustang starts to pull with the tractor. You can't do it right unless the car is anchored on the ground. That is what a body shop is going to have. They're going to be able to anchor the car for you. Now, there are guys that try and anchor these cars at home using trees, using other sort of really creative things. More power to you. I just feel like if you're doing this with a nice car, it's not going to turn out nice. I admire Mr. Glass Elevator for being so tenacious. I was the same way when it came to my Jetta, which was a total disaster and I wasted all sorts of money on. But this is something at this point, going back to one of my original comments, you got to replace this apron without a doubt. It's a part that I'm sure is readily available. It's got to be replaced. But the problem extends past that. It extends deep into the frame of the car, and then I go back to my original statement is this thing looks like a parts car. But okay, he's not having it. He's gonna get this thing fixed. So his next action step is, well, I'm going to take it to a body shop. They're gonna pull it on a frame machine. They're gonna do it the right way. And I'm sitting here going, I'm rooting for you. I hope that body shop can take care of your issue. I'm surprised they're not telling you to go ahead, get a new apron and bring him some parts or whatever. He's bringing him a new door, obviously, to replace that destroyed door. There's no coming back from that. Okay, I'm really rooting for you. Hopefully they can get this done. And then it turns into something even worse than I want to say, started with. So yeah, I don't know what sort of shop he took it to. This seems like one of these guys that will tell you they'll be able to fix absolutely anything. And this is worse than a hack job. This is an absolute disaster. This person took what might have been, and again, I really don't think so, but what you might have been able to iron out a few wrinkles, and it still wasn't going to be perfect, but at least you put the car back together. At least it would drive down the road. The part that I have an issue with is going to sell it to somebody in the future. But you're right there. You're almost there. And then he basically wrecks that whole entire corner. That apron is now completely unusable. The repair on the door frame, oh my God. It's absolutely disgusting. Oh, well, great. They left their bag of potato chips in it. But the worst thing, I mean, look at how the door is closing. Look at the way the striker is closing on the latch. I mean, it is just unreal that the dude thought that, like, hey, I'm going to just throw this back together like this and that's going to be all right. And I know of a specific body shop, actually, that I've dealt with. They will promise you the world. Oh, you won't ever be able to tell that this car was in an accident. And they're the shop that are welding halves of cars back together. And stuff like this, to them, like this V6 Mustang, would be a really nice, newish car because most of the stuff they're used to working on is old junk. And I say that endearingly, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. They would not care that the door closed that bad because it's such a new and nice car to them. It's mind-boggling stuff. To guys like us that are car fanatics, we couldn't sleep at night knowing that our door and the paint and everything looked like that. But these are the shops that also just want your money, and they just are going to do something really quick. And in a lot of cases, I say they'll do it quick. The time that they take on the car is quick, but sometimes they'll take months to get you your car back. All right, this is where I want to step in. You are spending a lot of time on this car, and especially when you get older, because you're a young dude. You're going to realize that a lot of that time is very valuable. There's a lot of other things you could be doing, and there's a lot of other cars you could be working on that are going to be the successful rebuild project you are looking for. Turn this into a positive experience. I want to use another YouTuber for example here. There's a guy by the name of Alexander who bought an Audi A7. It was an absolute doctored up disaster, probably worse than the Money Pit Jetta, and he spent way more than I spent on the Money Pit Jetta just on a broken car that looked halfway decent at the auction. I actually talked to Alexander. He was like, what in the hell do I do with this piece of junk? It was absolute garbage. He took that car. What did he do? He doubled down, but in a good way. He went and he bought another one or two A7s, and he rebuilt those good A7s with the garbage one. Because again, we say it's garbage, but there's a ton of parts. If I want to reference the Money Pit Jetta for the 100th time, that car, if I would have taken the engine transmission out of it, I would have made my money back, the money that I spent just on the car itself and getting it delivered and all the fees and everything. Money would have been back right out of the engine and transmission. The big takeaway from all this stuff is there's kind of one wrong move after next. And we could start with buying the car. Again, might have not been ideal for what Mr. Glass Elevator was expecting. But then that turned into, okay, well, we're still going to get this to work. We're still going to do it. My suggestion at this point would to be look at this project no longer as a rebuild project, but do it from a different angle, like what we just talked about. Maybe you end up using it for a parts car. Maybe you buy another Mustang, and you can use a ton of the parts from this car to rebuild it. Now, maybe Mr. Glass Elevator doesn't even see this video, and so maybe that doesn't matter. But if any of you guys at home see this video and you are considering doing a rebuild project, this is just one of those things you can take away, that sometimes these things don't work out. It's happened to me. It's happened to most people that have done more than one car. This is not the simplest thing in the world. And a lot of people send me listings like this Tesla with the tree growing out of the middle of it, wondering, can they fix it? And the answer is, I think you can fix absolutely anything. All it takes is money. But then you have to decide whether that's money you want to part with or not. Definitely do your research. Consume as much information as you can from channels like mine or others. And then make your own educated decision. But as always, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, my email is in the description box below. Guys, if you have any words of wisdom for Mr. Glass Elevator, or maybe you think I'm entirely wrong and maybe I'm approaching this the wrong way, please be sure to leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd like to see what you have to say. Mr. Glass Elevator, I wish you the best of luck with this project and any of your future ones. You will prevail. This might or might not end up working out, but I hope that you're learning a lot from it. Guys, thanks a whole lot for watching, and I will catch you very soon.